All right, welcome everyone to another edition of Deconversion Stories, and today we're chatting with our new friend Dan over here. Dan, you're a fairly recent deconvert, I guess you could say.
Yes, very, very recent, very recent. Probably
Okay.
even within the last several months.
Wow,
Yeah,
he's a virgin, folks.
yes.
Fresh out of the belief system, and what we generally would ask of folks is to sort of take us back to. Now, you said you had like a conversion before
Mhm.
deconverting, so
That's correct. Yes.
I'm
So,
interested in hearing about that. So why don't you take us on that little journey there, and then we'll go into how you found your way out of it.
all right. So I'll start. When I was a kid, I was raised like very nominally in church. We hardly ever went, but we did go a couple times, church, Christmas and Easter and whatnot. And
Of course.
yeah, of course, always right. And I started using drugs about the age of 11 or 12 and became pretty heavily, into those drugs, heroin and methamphetamine and alcohol.
At
Yeah,
12.
well, probably I started with a couple pills and stuff at 12, but I was progressing. I started the hard drugs about 14, 15 years old, 16.
Oof.
16 things went. I got my license and I started to get into real trouble with the heroin then and ended up
Hmm.
continuing down with the drugs and going to jail when I was 18 and which really led to just a number of years, which ended up being, I suppose, about 15 years of in and out of jail. I was just counting it up today because I knew I was going to tell this tonight, and it was 19 times in and out of jail. Uh,
Wow.
just full blown heroin addiction. I got stabbed in prison. I really did.
Oof.
Like as crazy as you could be, going down that road, and it was a terrible, terrible life.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I had overdosed a number of times. I think I've been Narcan 7 times,
Wow.
which is
Oh shit.
incredible. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
So I was
dude,
just
you literally you shouldn't be alive right now.
about a million times over. I always say like I was second in inches away from dying so many times, and yet I'm here. And which really, so the last time I overdosed, I was in the ICU, and I ended up going to. I knew I was going to jail after the ICU because I was on parole and I overdosed, and for whatever reason, I kind of had a born again experience, I suppose you would say, um, in reading the Bible, and I read the Bible in jail, and I'd
Mm-hmm.
been in, and I had gotten into some like other faith stuff back in jail a couple years prior, like Taoism. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but or Buddhism or um,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
different the Bhagavad Gita. Got into that kind of stuff there for a little bit. New Age ism. Um, and so I wasn't like I got into spiritual things, but then I had this born again experience, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't see anything or anything. But I did end up getting sober. But I was just talking to somebody today. Part of it was I worked my ass off to get sober. I mean, I worked hard. I mean, I had never had a job before I got sober. I got a job, which ended up giving me now a career that I'm in, and like
Awesome.
I worked my ass off to get out of it. But in the middle of that, I was giving God all this credit, and
Mm-hmm.
um,
For
mainly
your
because
hard work.
right, mainly because people were telling me like this was impossible, and you couldn't get sober without God. Even in the AA program, the step number 3 is we made a decision to turn our lives and our wills over to the care of God as we understand Him, which is still saying God in a sense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so you're saying it's almost like this idea that you can't overcome it without
I just
God.
I just want to say something real quick. The
Yes.
way you said that is we give our lives over to God as we
Hmm.
understand Him, which,
Hmm.
in my opinion, is almost like saying, "Well, He's not really real, so just whatever
Yeah,
version you believe." you
I
know.
I kind of tend to agree with that too. Yeah, I just think you just have to be careful then because other people want to push their God on you sometimes, I think,
Yep.
and that's the unfortunate part with all that. Because I
Just do
suppose
the
I
old,
wouldn't care.
you know, just do the old. My God could kick your God's ass.
That's what it comes down to. And I suppose I suppose I would just rather stay out of all that. I suppose everybody could have their own God, and it wouldn't really bother me as long as they weren't pushing it on me. But
Your
the
God
thing
is
about
right behind your head right now.
yeah, she's there. That's my baby. But I ended up becoming, because of my story, because of the 19 times in and out, and the prison and the drugs. I became kind of like a speaker, on the Christian circuit, giving my testimony, and quite often, and it became kind of a paid position in some ways too, because I was getting speaker fees, and which, I mean, looking back, of course, that's going to bias you in a little bit when you're getting paid to say something. Of course, it's going to tend to make you want to say that thing. So that plays a part in it, I think. But anyways, I was full blown. I mean, when I would say I was into the faith, I was really Calvinist. And I know you guys are familiar with some of this stuff, but about Calvinist as you could get. So like no woman preachers, no women elders, really, really bigoted.
Women can't even be elders. They're not allowed to age.
Yeah. And it almost makes me sad to say all that stuff because it wasn't even that long ago, and some of that stuff was just kind of like really ignorant towards other people.
Yeah.
And then of course the idea that if people don't believe, they're going to burn in hell for eternity, over and over and over and over for eternity. And then when the skin burns off, they'll get new skin to have burn off. That's not really a loving message either.
No, plus, isn't it your soul that goes to hell? Right?
Yes, that's the other part of it. That's a hard thing to understand.
Does your soul really have skin?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you need soul lotion.
Hold on. Does it have nerve endings?
Right.
I don't think so.
And that's why, Neil, when you ask about the deconversion, which is coming, some stuff that became, some stuff like that became so obvious to me. And like you said, I'm a virgin, and some of it's just embarrassing to even believe like that God would even. So if there was this God of such love and mercy and grace, except for if you don't believe in him, you're going to burn in hell for eternity.
Yeah.
It's just so contradictory on the face of it. It's just so, and man, even in the last couple of years when I was speaking, and I mean, I was reading scripture for probably 3 to 4 hours a day, leading Bible studies. I mean, insane into this stuff. And I still probably 50% of the time was scared I was going to go to hell because I wasn't doing it right, or I wasn't doing enough, or I had misbelieved something because there's 1,000 different ways of believing Christianity that I got in the wrong denomination.
How do you know? How do you know you're doing it right? Does God send you a text say that's the way? There you go.
Well, essentially, that's what it came down to. It was like these Christians weren't believing in that Bible was inerrant. They were believing the way they interpret the Bible as inerrant, which means it's such a you're telling people what it means essentially. And we, some of it's so far away from what it even says that you're saying you guys are just kind of making stuff up at this. I mean, a lot of it, so when you get into some of it, like the talking snake was kind of a thing, because when I say I was a young earth creationist, of course, and evolution, I suppose, has recently played a pretty big part in a couple different of my deconversion. But part of what really started it was the idea that I saw a couple of friends die, and I knew that they didn't believe in Jesus, right? And part of me was like, if I'm believing this to its logical conclusion, then I'm believing that these guys who I'm friends with, who might not have been the best guys ever, but they were pretty decent dudes, right? If there's this afterlife, then they're burning in hell for eternity because they didn't believe the right thing. I guess, what a terrible way of thinking. What a terrible fear to have, right? That's
plus you're in heaven too, right? And you're wondering, does the knowledge of your friends or family that didn't make it up there, that they're now burning in hell, does that knowledge follow you to heaven? And if that's the case, then heaven isn't really quite what it is it?
Couldn't be heaven with that. You're right, Neil. I addressed that point. I thought I had a good argument against that. That was the whole thing. Is like everything I say now. When I was a Christian, I would have had a great argument against, in my mind at least, and I would have been right on all those arguments. Because I was really arrogant. Actually, was what it was, and I just kind of in a way, I think.
When we think
I think in a way, a lot of Christians start to act like they are God. In a sense, like that they, that's the way.
Greg Locke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's many of them that are going, this is what the Bible says. It says it because I say it. And I'm going, well, those aren't even the words it says. You're just saying that's how you interpret it to mean, and right. That's the other part is there's so many interpretations, and I've been like denomination hopping, but I'm going, what are the chances that stupid me is going to get the right denomination, the right exact, because there's about thousands of them, which one is right, and you look at every one of them believes something different.
Yep.
And how are you to guess?
Every individual person believes something just slightly
that's
different.
Right. You're right. So how do you know if you get it right then? How do you know you're believing the right thing? Because it almost seems like only one person, if there is a right thing, only one person can possibly believe it, because everybody believes something different.
How do we know any of them believe it right?
I don't know. That's the other part. I wonder.
Since there are no copies of the original, there's no original copies of the Bible. The earliest one we have is the Greek interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
So the original stuff is no longer with us.
Mm-hmm.
Just trust that it's the same.
And trust that's what we've told you.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Exactly.
And that's what's so dangerous about it. And I think like I was just listening to, I think on your show actually, a deconversion story. I've been to watch you guys. I was listening to a deconversion story, I think, on your show where this girl was talking about, imagine just for children growing up with this fear of hell. I mean, little kids growing up scared of that. And I mean, I'm like almost, it breaks my heart because I was telling my little sister that these little kids, this one of my little sisters is 13 years old and with autism, and I'm telling her if she doesn't believe the right thing, she's going to go to hell.
Wow.
And hopefully I'm correcting that now. I hope, but because there is so much hope and goodness in this life. Like I love life, and I think you guys enjoy life, and I think it's like we got a pretty cool thing here going on right now. Let's live in. Let's be pretty stoked about that.
We love life. We just hate each other.
Right.
We don't hate each other. We don't hate each other.
We are arch nemesis. Right. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
That's right.
Waiting for each other's downfall to pounce.
I don't give my passwords to my accounts to people I don't trust, Mikey.
There you go. That's evidence.
Cool.
That's evidence.
But I can totally relate to what you're saying about losing friends and stuff like that, because one of the Lego bricks that started following for me was a lot of I did lose a couple of friends from like just freak tragic accidents, and then like Saddam Hussein was running around. I'm like, this hardly seems fair.
I got some extra ones if you need them.
Oh, thank you, sir. But yeah, like when you see, and then you think like, well, I don't know if my friend was a Christian or not, so now my friend's in hell, but Saddam Hussein's running around and he could just like on his deathbed confess everything and he gets to go to heaven and my friend's in hell forever. Like that seems a bit fucked up.
Right. Well, and another thing for me, another one of the bricks that I think, and when I say I'm recent, I think, Neil, the truth is that probably my deconversion started quite a while ago, but for different reasons, it's been hard to address. It's hard to come out of that, like especially when you're built into it, like I am or was. I almost still am in a sense. Like I'm getting out of it, but
it takes a while.
It's just so hard to be honest with everybody and go. And I'm not at a place right now where I'm a hardcore atheist, because I'm just at a place where I go, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know, and that's where I'm at. So I just don't know. Could be not. I can imagine that if there's a good and loving God, then there is no hell. That's what I do believe to be true.
Well,
so
you're right. There is no hell.
yeah. I mean, that's
all made up shit. It wasn't even in the original copies of the Bible.
no.
They added it later.
It was DLC.
Well, and that is the thing about. I was talking to Pine Creek earlier today. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him or not.
Yeah, I know Doug.
Yeah.
Good guy.
And he was just asking about progressive Christianity, and I think the issue with progressive Christianity, why I wasn't drawn to it, is just because it seems like they try and like twist everything to go. Jesus is all about love, and Jesus was the one talking about hell in the Bible that they're saying. So
right.
I don't know where they're spinning. It's almost like they want to hold on to a made up Jesus that's made up off of the made up. You know, it's like something was already made up, and they try to copy it in a sense. And make it like all about love and peace, and that's not what the Bible's about. Anybody, I mean, I know you guys have read the Bible. You know, it's not all about love and peace and kindness and grace, and except for you're going to
try the Old Testament.
Right. And look around the world, and I think like something Mikey was kind of saying about our friends. And another thing for me was I was trying to explain suffering to people, because so many people started asking, well, if God is so good, why is there suffering? And so I started looking and seeing kids with cancer. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, so there's this God that can heal, supposedly. Mm-hmm. And yet there's this kid with cancer who's as innocent as could be. And yet this God that can heal, like Mikey said, is letting Osama bin Laden run around. But this little kid is suffering in a hospital bed with cancer.
Bone cancer. Fucking the most painful
suffering
shit that you could ever imagine.
And so I just guess I go, if there's this God that so loves us, then why is there anything of that child? And I just can't work around that. I still can't work around that. How you could reconcile those. But I did for a bit.
Yeah.
But I think part of why I was in it was because I really believed if I stop believing this, I'm going to shoot heroin again. Because pretty much what a lot of Christians try and sell is the idea that if you quit believing in God, you're just going to be the most immoral piece of shit you could ever imagine.
Oh yeah.
You're going to be like really, they hold on to, you can't have morals if you don't believe in God.
Yeah. They try to sell that shit all the time.
Mm-hmm. And that's just really a fucked up thing to say to people, because that's like saying you're a bad person. You can't possibly be good.
Yeah.
Like none of the three of us could be good. That's a terrible thing to.
I'm really good at proving them wrong. So
yeah, I think there's a lot of examples of it, and like even we're here today. I mean, trying to kind of help people. Like that's what Doug was saying. Like, do you think am I against it? No, I'm not against it, but I am against people having to be afraid of going to hell. So I'm afraid of that, and I would like to put that idea to death. And I suppose I wouldn't want people believing something that's not true, because it's a waste of life, you know. I think we should try to hold on to what is true, figure out what's true, and like I think we should also, when people do cool things like overcome drug addiction or start YouTube channels or something, we should go, man, you guys are doing cool stuff. Like you're working hard. You guys are putting effort in. Like you're doing this thing. You are doing this, not because
by
you're
the grace
powered
of
from
God,
on high.
we are able to go on to YouTube.
Right. I mean,
didn't fucking whisper in my ear and say, "Hey, you should do an atheist YouTube channel."
Right. I don't think he did.
Oh wait, let me get a bigger cup. Neil, it is your heavenly Father.
But that, but like I think people, you take credit away from people when you just say God does it all. God overcame addiction. Like as if, and I even said that, and I graduated from a drug program, and I even said, they said, how did you do it? He's like, you must have worked hard. You must have done a lot. I said, all power, all glory to Jesus Christ. That's what I said. I said nothing I did.
Well, let me be the first to tell you. Good fucking job. You did that shit. God didn't do a fucking thing because he's not fucking there. It was all you the whole time. Good for you for fucking kicking the fucking
Hell yeah.
fucking
I second that.
fucking slaying a dragon. Good fucking shit.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, you guys. I do. And that's what I was saying. Like there's a hope that's even greater than the hope they're selling, which is that through hard work and effort, right? I mean, it doesn't necessarily come easy, but this shit can be beaten and overcome. And like not only that, but then hatred can be there are these things that can be overcome and should be overcome. But it's not gonna be through I just read a quote, 2 hands working is better than 2 hands folded in prayer, and I think that's probably, that's where we're at. It's like, I think for me, Christianity kind of brought about a laziness because I was always waiting for God to do it for me.
Well, I prayed over it, so I really don't have to like plant my crops. I prayed, so no one has to go out in that field for fucking the next 3 weeks planting fucking corn. I can just pray about it and it'll be done.
Yeah, plus I got on Jer here who says, what if God doesn't grant you the grace to be successful on your addiction recovery? What an asshole. Like, because there's not everyone recovers. And they're praying to recover.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, what about the people who asked for help out of their addiction and didn't get shit?
That's the other part. And I also think,
he's busy finding Buffy's keys to her Jetta. That's why.
Right. Couldn't find my cell phone charger.
I sometimes wonder though why people are so determined to give the credit to God in these circumstances. Like when some awesome shit happens, it always seems like it's like, let's give the credit there rather than like, wow, these doctors did awesome, or these firemen did awesome, or
it becomes a response that you just go to once you've been indoctrinated deeply enough to do that.
Oh, reflex.
Yeah, like a reflex. Yeah.
I think you have a lot of wisdom on the indoctrination part, because I think there's so much truth in that.
I've heard a lot of stories.
I can imagine, but you really do, and like especially in the Calvinist circle in which like I'm coming from, you just like so indoctrinated because like, so you guys know about Calvinism, but in Calvinism there's the elect, right? And if you're not among the elect, you're fucked. You're not getting in, right? But if you are of the elect, so it all comes down to whether or not you're chosen or not. That's it. Whether so if you're not chosen, there's nothing you can do. You're just not getting in. Well, that's an insane doctrine. That's even saying, like, they would even say babies that are born, if they're not of the elect, they died, they wouldn't be going to so-called heaven.
Right, because they're born a sinner.
Yep. An original sin, exactly. And they're born in guilt and shame.
Fuck. That's in my opinion, one of the most fucked up things about that belief system is you're automatically a sinner when you're born. Like,
have you seen
I just took my first breath. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Have you seen a baby? They don't do anything. They just sit there.
No, and that's
cry and poop.
But that's how you can. But apparently they're guilty because that's the worst part. They're not even guilty because they did something. Your parents did it.
It's like 7 generations or some bullshit.
Yeah, and you can't overcome that ever except through a belief.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And like when you say like the fear of hell, I mean. Even I'll be honest with you, even coming on here tonight, I'm going, man, if there's a God, I'm probably burning in hell because I'm going on Neil's show.
No, he loves me. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I'm good then. No, but it's when it's that deeply ingrained in you, it's hard to fully overcome that, and that's a sick thing. And if we indoctrinated kids and said, if we told kids in any other way that you're going to be tortured for eternity,
right?
We'd be considered fucking sickos.
It's child abuse.
Yep.
But that's what that is, right? That's what that is.
And like,
for sure. Yeah, and like if you have sex with the wrong people, it's over. You don't even have a chance. In that belief, and that rank of belief anyway. No matter what, like if you don't comply, or if you, and also you're so pushed to evangelism. That was the other part. Was I was a street evangelist, so I would knock on doors. I was the guy you guys would hate, like
Oh,
who would
man.
annoy. I'm that guy. Like I would literally on the street handing out tracts. Can I have a moment of your time to talk to you about our Lord Jesus Christ?
Wait. Chick tracts?
Like handing out tracts, like a little Christian little booklets.
Yeah, chick tracts.
Yeah.
Not
I said that's what
they don't have Chick had his own version, but every church had to put out their own like.
Yeah, I don't think they were chick tracts, but it's similar. Yeah.
Same idea. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I actually did hand out some chick tracts before, though, so I am aware of what they are. Because I was able to get them. I was able to get some of those. Actually, I think I handed out 200 of those ones specifically.
I had piles of them, and I don't know where the hell they went. They're probably in a box somewhere.
Boy, I almost wish I could read one right now. Just even that, it's just a short time later, I can see how. But a lot of it, like I rather than feel like a fool, because I hate to think I'm a fool. I probably was though for a little bit, but I think I just was indoctrinated, and I was so scared of going back to drugs, and I was so talked into the idea that if I didn't believe, I'd have a needle on my arm again. And
we're all fools, buddy. We're fools all the time.
Oh yeah, I was about to say I'm dumb as hell. So
that's what I said earlier. Like I just don't know. I don't know much. Like I know I'm living my life. I'm working. I'm not using drugs. I'm doing cool stuff like this, and now I get to like talk to people about like. And again, like I'm not trying to wreck religion, whatever. If it works for people and they're not bothering me, I don't really care.
Sure.
And if it is helping people in addiction, actually. But here's the other part of it, and this is where I got to be honest: is I could have said it was helping.
Dude, I got to tell you. I mean,
I was just about to
working for them, but yeah.
I was just about to change my tune on it, so give me 1 second. Yeah, I was right about to back it up. I was about to say, but the other problem, and I want to be honest about this, is while I thought it was helping me, about 50 to 75% of the time I was scared to death of going to hell. So during this time that I would have said it was helping me, so right, I was kind of getting to what Neil was about to say, which is like, I don't think even if it is helping people, it's good to believe, because people will say it's helping them, but secretly they're going to be scared to death of going to hell, because I was, and I would have said it was helping me. So I think
my angle wasn't so much about the fear part, but to convince yourself that it's God that's doing this work for you takes away from your value as a survivor, right. as getting clean yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no magical sky fairies out there doing shit for you. It's you doing it.
That's it. Like I said, I am such a virgin at coming out of it. Even to hear that, it sounds so cool, because it is like something to be proud of in a sense. Like
it is.
That, yeah. But it's in the middle of that, they say like what they say in the programs, especially was if you want to lose a miracle, try to take credit for it. So they were saying this miracle is you getting sober. So if you want to lose
that, it's not a fucking miracle. It's dedication and hard work.
You're right. Exactly right. Yep. That's exactly right. And that's what I want to say. If anybody out there is struggling with it, the good news is through dedication and hard work, I've seen that it can be overcome, that it is possible with dedication and hard work. Yep. And so that is such good news for anybody struggling. Not that we desperately need the help of a God, but that if we put, and it is a hard thing to overcome. I mean, it took me 20 times in jail almost. But when I got determined and I said, okay, I'm going to do these things that are required, and work my ass off to stay sober. And it took like a year of working my ass off every day to stay sober. Now it's not hard but you don't need a God for that. You don't need a miracle, whatever that means. Like it can happen naturally. Yep. People overcome drug addiction every day. I've done it, so it can be done. That's good news for anybody listening. especially because I think so.
Lots of people who have.
Me too. Yeah. And it's, but yeah, I think what happens is when you have a story like mine, you get thrown on the Christian circuit. And I was on the Christian circuit. I spoke, I can't even, countless times. Of course, because the story like that it's exciting and it draws people. And, of course they want to put you on stage, and especially because I'm a younger guy, and
Brother Dan is going to testify. Brother Dan, come up on the stage.
Yeah, you're not far off. Because I was in a couple Pentecostal churches. I spoke in a couple Pentecostal churches, which is a whole different tune.
I was going to ask you. You kind of jumped over it. Which denomination were you? So was it Pentecostal, or did you go to a bunch of different ones?
Presbyterian at the end. Presbyterianism at the end. Yeah. Which was the Calvinism type of.
What's the Presbyterian jam? Like, what's their flavor? What are they up to?
Well, they're especially, like, their specialty, I suppose you'd say, which makes them stand out, is they baptize infants. Because they would believe really strongly in covenant theology, which is to say there's a chosen race, there's a chosen people, God's elect. Yeah. And so they baptize babies because, of course, if you're in God's people, your children are going to be among the elect as well. And so most denominations won't baptize infants, such as Baptists won't wait till people announce belief. Presbyterians baptize babies, because they believe babies are in the covenant. The covenant extends to the babies. So that, and then they have also, they're Reformed, so they have Calvinist beliefs. But the infant baptism's what makes them stand out.
I got a quick Google here. It says Presbyterians do not believe that the authors of the Bible were pens of God, as the pre-Christian writers believed. Instead, they believe the authors were inspired by God to reveal God to all people. These are statements of doctrine. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but the paedo baptism is really like the drawing feature, because I think they're one of the only denominations that does that. Okay. They get a lot of flack for that. Like, I got picked on a lot by the Baptists because they dedicate babies and we baptize them. So they picked on me about that. It's like,
y'all was over there dunking everybody. It was like the dunk tank at the state fair.
Roger, I think so. I think Lutherans also do babies.
Oh yes, you're right. Lutherans do, yeah. Yep. But there are a ton of denominations.
Throw them in the pool.
Right.
But it's kind of a sick idea of the elect again, that because if you think about that, it means that there's babies that aren't baptized, which means that you're saying some babies aren't of the elect, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a sick way of thinking, I think. Like, yep, this baby's in. This baby, nah. Nope.
No, don't like that baby.
Nope, you're in. You're not. Go burn. like Neil said, have your soul burn its skin off.
Yeah.
Your soul skin.
Your soul skin.
There's a band name right there.
Soul skin.
Soul skin. There you go. But yeah, so that's what but for a year I was in a really Pentecostal denomination, my first year saved, or so, and so in that you would do you would do like a lot of laying of the hands and praying for people, and like this is part of the really bad thing about my experience with them, was like it was to the point where you'd go up to people in wheelchairs and they would believe that if you just had enough faith, right?
Oh my God.
So yeah, it breaks my heart to say it now, and I'm embarrassed to say it. I'm embarrassed about it.
Those poor guys.
Yeah,
that's the part that really pisses me off, is because I know it's unintentional, but the harm that can come from it is
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I know women that that literally send in their whole SSI checks to these healers, right? Christian healers.
Wow.
Because if you just sow the seed enough, and that's not everybody, so I'm not trying to generalize that, but with the Pentecostal movement, at least from my experience, was like, if you were to see somebody in a wheelchair, you're called to go pray that they would be healed and that they would rise up. And I'm so embarrassed, and I was indoctrinated, but it's no excuse because I just wasn't being reasonable, quite frankly. I became just so scared is what it was that I just believed nonsense, and people do get hurt from that, like almost every time. I mean, and there's people with cancer that have been faithful to this God that they believe in their whole lives, and they're begging, and they're not being healed. I mean, what would that do to you? Imagine if you're thinking that this God loves you, and that way, So there is harm that can come from religion. That's why I like you guys' channel, because if it was just harmless, I guess none of us would really give a shit. But the fact is that it's harmful in like about 1,000 different ways.
Yeah. Well, between the fear mongering and the manipulation and the outcasting, if you don't follow all the rules and all that kind of stuff, and separating you from the rest of your social circle, and threatening to take that, the one social circle you do have, threatening to take that away if you don't follow all the rules and do all, like, that's super villain shit. Even before I came on air, we were kind of speaking about stuff, but even like you have to sign I had to sign a couple morality contracts, which are like, say if I act in an immoral way, right, that I'm breaking, and it's kind of a bullshit thing. But that I would represent the company in a certain way, and but it was part of a promotion thing. So but at the same time, I think you could argue the point that leaving Christianity is leaving a cult in a sense. Yeah. And but such a big cult that it's not like you're being disowned by a couple people. You're being disowned by a large portion of where I'm from, at least, of the community. Remember,
cults are not size dependent.
Mm-hmm.
There could be 2 people in a cult, and there could be 2 billion people in a cult. They're still cults.
MAGA.
So would you consider Christianity to be a cult, Neil?
I believe it has the properties of a cult, yes. It falls under the BITE model, right? Behavioral control, information control, thought control, and emotional control. That's the BITE model.
I tend to agree with you.
So
I tend to agree with you. And that, I guess, is the biggest problem, is it's such a huge cult that you lose a ton of people. And then the other part is then you have to hear, like, and I think they're all good intentioned people, and I'm not. But part of it is like, then you have to hear 1,000 people say, "I'm praying for you. I know the Lord's going to bring you back. I know. Yeah, I know. And that's like what kind of been the hardest thing about my coming out, quite frankly, is just the annoyance of that stuff, of like, like people reaching out and going, "I'm praying for you. Like, I know this is just a season of trouble." And like,
my favorite reaction to that is, "Yeah, thanks. I'll talk to my cat for you and expect the same results."
Yeah. But that is like the whole thing, and it's almost like, just so I know they all believe I'm going to hell now. And so every time you're talking to them, you're going, like, these guys are imagining, if they really believe it, and I'm not sure a lot of Christians believe it, quite frankly. I think in that world, a lot of it's based on fear, and then a lot of it is based on pride, and I've gotten, like, you got the Kent Hovens, who just like made a career off of being an arrogant asshole who just makes shit up, and like people watch it, but I guess I just don't see the point in like following religion or being too involved in, like, so I get a lot of people like get into panentheism and different stuff like that when they leave Christianity, or New Ageism, or
paganism, Wicca,
some shit, right?
I went down that path, right, myself.
Did you? Are you still in that? And are you after kind of all of it now, haven't you?
I don't believe in any of that shit anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Why were you drawn to the Wicca, you think, after?
That one's kind of I started dating a girl that was Wiccan, and she kind of
okay, that always happens. Yeah,
sex magic. Woohoo! I'm in.
Understandable. Yep, I'll believe any. Give me that vagina. I'll believe anything.
What? I'm sorry. It sounded like you said sex magic. I'm on my way.
I'll be right there.
What's the address? Yeah.
You just hear the doorbell ring. It's like, how the hell did you get across town so fast? Don't you worry about that.
Sex magic.
It's called a penis.
I'll get you there quick. That'll do it. I guess I'm just not drawn to any of that because I guess I just think it's all kind of. If any of it was, if any of it was true, we wouldn't be able to know it was true anyway. So it wouldn't matter that it's true because we wouldn't be able to know. Even if it was, we wouldn't be able to know. So what difference would it make? None. So essentially, even if it was true, which I don't think it is, but even if it was true, it wouldn't matter anyway. So I guess if it wouldn't matter, it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's just not true.
All of these belief systems come from a time basically was pre-scientific. I know there was science developing during those times and stuff like that, but a lot of it was kiboshed because of religious belief and stuff. So and most of the scientists back then were religious, so to speak. At least they said they were in most cases because they didn't want to lose their position at a university that were all funded by churches or whatever, and so they had to, at least say they were. Some that ended up admitting they weren't real believers were locked in fucking attics and shit like that, right? Or if they said something that was against biblical doctrine, they were locked up somewhere, right? So
it's almost amazing now that I even believed it because I am so new out of it. So it wasn't that long. And like I said, the dominoes were starting to fall a while ago, but it's almost embarrassing. I mean, like honestly, it really is because 6 months ago, I would have been on here proving you were wrong because the world is only 6,000 years old and that there's perfect evidence that Jesus rose from the dead, 100% guaranteed. I would say you're not reasonable, and now I'm like, oh my goodness gracious, how could I have acted?
Don't kick yourself in the ass for that. You were convinced of something that you're no longer convinced of. That's how you have to look at it.
I so appreciate that. Okay.
What's some of the stuff like you said like with the younger stuff, but what's some other tenets that you're kind of looking at them now and you're just like, there is no way that any of that was, like there's no way I believe that. Like what's like?
Well, we can start with we can start with the talking snake.
Living inside of a fish. What the fuck?
The global flood would probably come next. The giant being slave. Mikey, do I need to go on? I mean, again, like, thanks, Neil, for making me feel better about it. But then Mikey came and made me feel worse. He's like, what are the most embarrassing things you believed?
I can see how that was a bad interview question.
No, I appreciated it.
I disagree with this statement. The funny thing about being wrong is it feels exactly like being right. No, because if you're found out that you're wrong, it doesn't feel like you're right. No. But mind you, the best part about being proven wrong is you're no longer wrong.
And it's free.
And it's free. That's true.
Changing your mind costs $0.
I mean, if you believe in something you think you're right, sure, I understand it would feel like you're right, even if you are wrong. But once somebody shows you that what you believe was wrong, then you're like, oh shit, now I feel like an idiot. Don't do that because you were led to believe something by people you trusted and you no longer do. So kudos to you for pulling yourself out of what I consider to be a delusional mindset on something like that.
Well, and the truth is there's so much freedom in it and so much, like, we would talk about peace and joy and stuff in Christianity, but quite frankly, I found it now. I didn't have it when I was worried about hell, and I didn't have it because
like fear and loathing.
like exactly, like even in the middle of that, when I was doing all this stuff, and I was like, what they would have called like the perfect Christian, I still was having doubts. I still was worried about hell, worried I wasn't saying the right prayers. I mean, I was getting on my knees like 4 or 5 times a day and praying, because I wasn't sure if I was being humble enough or. And I was giving away tons of money to the church because I was convicted that I had to joyfully give. So now I'm like escaping it. I'm like, damn, I wish I had my money back. But
if they offered refunds, oh man,
if only
great, because they have to track all your tithes and offers.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, just run me that fucking 10 grand back, please. Like, just let me get that back.
This I agree with too, but I would put it a little differently. As I've often said in the past, and I'm not the only one that said it, of course, but we don't choose our beliefs. You're either convinced of something or you're not convinced of it. So even if somebody proposes something to you that sounds like complete poppycock, the chances of you actually believing that are going to be pretty slim. You know, unless there's a decent amount of money involved. Then I'll tell you I believe anything.
Well, I think Christians... Right. I think Christians prey on hope with people, and I don't think they intend to prey on hope with people. Maybe they do, but I think that they hopeless people are desperate, and people prey on desperation a lot. And
I agree. Sorry.
And it seems like they're going, you have no other hope. Here's the only hope that you could possibly have. Instead of saying there's actual hope in this life, and that like lives can be transformed and lives can be changed and they can be different. We can not be the same people we used to be. Like Neil said, we can realize we're wrong. And when we realize we're wrong, we're in a good place because we're not wrong anymore. And so it's good to live a life where you realize you're wrong, because at least then you're not wrong, as long as you can acknowledge when you're wrong.
If you're not wrong at least once a day, then you're not learning anything.
Yeah. I've got to be wrong at least like once before I drink a cup of coffee, probably. But it's good because I've realized how wrong I am now, and I've realized how gullible I am now. Because I believed in a talking snake. I believed that evolution was nonsense. I believed that a global flood. I believed a donkey could talk. I believe that I could lay hands on somebody in a wheelchair and that they might actually stand up. I believed a bunch of bullshit. Yeah, and I suppose that's why I really have a problem with Pentecostals, is because they give so many people that actually believe them, but also people that they go out and pray for, and there's people lined up with walkers and wheelchairs waiting to be healed.
Maya tells 3 people they're wrong before she even finishes her morning coffee. So
there you go.
From bed every morning, I tell 37 people they're wrong.
I just text them all. You're wrong. You're wrong.
I didn't say anything. Yeah, that's why you're wrong.
Well, that's part of my deconversion that's fun now, is I'm also trying to convince Christians that are my friends, and I still would consider them to be my friends. They might not consider me one. I'm trying to kind of just convince them to go, guys, like a talking snake. I mean, think about it for a minute. Like, do you think it's actually real? Or also this idea that I don't understand.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead now.
No, it's okay.
I'm just gonna say
mine's dumb. Just go ahead.
I was just gonna say the very idea that a guy could be so full of love and yet also the idea of hell just cannot coexist, really. If you're one or the other can't be true if either of them was true, and I don't think either of them's true. But the whole concept of it, you can just tell it's made up, right? It's kind of clear. It's based on other myths that were around that time that can be proven. Even the resurrection. There's pretty good evidence that none of that actually happened. I think, if you ask me. Historically speaking, I think it's really good evidence. Like Bart Ehrman and some of those guys have, I kind of think, proven it beyond a reasonable doubt. So there's really no good evidence, but I had to hold on to Kent Hovind's on my side to win my debates, because it was the only. If I didn't believe that, I was going to hell.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I'm going to tell you what. If there is a hell, Hovind will be there. Don't worry.
Yeah, I imagine that to be right. I mean, but yeah, so I'm just grateful that you guys do this, and it's so cool watching your show and seeing different people, because actually something you've seen. I used to watch a lot of Christian conversion stories, and I watched these, and I see people smiling and laughing and seemingly much happier than the people in those videos are. And I think that's saying something. I think no matter what people say, to be under the guilt, shame, condemnation of Christianity. It's not good for people.
Doesn't make you smile, right?
No.
No, yeah, and that's no matter. And I think people that are stuck in it, this is the sad part. They can't see that, but they feel it still. Like they feel the anxiety and the sadness, but they can't see that it's because they're believing this horrible thing. That if it was true, it'd be pretty sad.
I wouldn't be able to talk to too many people if some of them didn't find their way free, if they didn't start to see, didn't start to doubt.
Yeah.
Right? You're one of them.
Yep. Yeah. And a lot of it was just reading the Bible as Christians said to do. So I did exactly what they told me to do. And that's what did it.
I can't believe this crap. Why are you making me read? This can't be
right.
real.
Right. I think I believed it before I read too much of it. But the more I read it, the more I'm going, are you guys like, I mean, come on. It's like, it's just so much mental gymnastics to believe it. So much mental gymnastics. And I guess I just don't know. I suppose they do prey on people that are hopeless and say, you're only going to get out of homelessness if you believe. You're only going to get out of drug addiction if you believe. Your financial situation is only going to get better if you just believe and give a little money to us. But also believe and give money to us, and everything will get better.
Those two things will get you out of those situations.
You got to think, though. I mean, they collect enough money at these churches, but the tithing and the donation plate or whatever the fuck it's called. There's got to be enough money in the kitty now to buy everyone that's a believer that's homeless a home.
They should,
for sure.
Because I've given so much money to the church, and that's out of guilt, and all part of it also is me trying to buy my way.
Can I have my money back? You fuckers are.
Can I just have a little bit back? Just a little, half of it, I'd be happy. But that's the question. Why aren't they feeding the homeless or housing the homeless with all that money? But if I were to do the same thing that they do, which is to tell people the only way you can possibly get better is through me, and I had people send me money and promise them healing, I would be sued like a motherfucker, first of all. And I'd probably be jailed.
Fraud. Practicing medicine without a license.
But that's exactly what we see happening there.
Mm-hmm.
And it slides. Because there still is cultural Christianity in America, I believe. At least where I'm in I'm in a conservative town, very conservative, very Christian town. Thankfully, my job isn't. I've been trying to preach to them for 3 years, so they're annoyed with me by now. But luckily, I'm not bothering them anymore. Because I was bothering them daily. I mean, I was one of those guys. You have no idea. I mean, I was one of those guys. Like you, I would stop everybody on the street. I used to walk to my Bible study just so I could stop people on the street to preach to them.
Everyone's just like everybody's like zigzagging crossing the street.
They were, yeah. Like, that's the only bad. That's the only bad thing about deconversion is all the cool people now are still avoiding me because I live in a small town and they're all worried about me. So now I can't get no girls or nothing because I've got to rechange my reputation. Because everybody's.
Move to Austin.
Yeah. Maybe I should. Yeah, Matt Dillahunty's down there, huh? The Atheist Experience.
No, he doesn't do the Atheist Experience anymore.
Oh, no, I did not hear that.
As of a couple of months ago.
Few months
back. I'm out of the loop, see? I've been watching you guys so much lately. I really haven't watched much.
The only show you can watch on YouTube. The only show.
Yeah.
I did his show with him. I did that.
I think I saw that. Yeah, I like Matt. He has logical thinking, and I guess I'm not really a secular humanist yet. I'm still in the process of figuring things out. I suppose I don't even know what secular humanism is necessarily. Like I understand the gist of it, but I like a better definition because
the secularism means there's no gods involved. Okay, so there's no religion or deities involved. Do you believe that all humans have equal rights? That we all have the same rights?
Yeah.
Right? Unless, of course, you do something like murder an infant and you lose some of those rights.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think you can be in prison for different.
Right. So all humans deserve and should have, and in my opinion, do have all the same rights. We all have the same rights. Of course, it depends on where you live in the globe too. Politically, it's a little different, of course. But we're striving for that, and you're striving to be better people and to make better communities, to build better belief systems, and to be more, as altruistic as you can be. That's humanism.
Okay, I'm a secular humanist, I guess.
If you can check those boxes off, then you're already on your way.
I'm one of them, I guess.
There's a little blurb here that goes with it. Humanists have no belief in the afterlife, in an afterlife, and so they focus on seeking happiness in this life.
Yeah, that's what I said. I suppose I'd be agnostic, but in the sense of I just wouldn't care if anything existed or not. So I'm just focused on this life either way, so it doesn't really matter. I guess I just there's no way to know because I'm not there, but I'm pretty certain that at least the way we've been told things definitely makes no damn sense at all. So it's not that. Whatever we've been told, it's not that. Like, if there was something, it wouldn't be something that people could freaking figure out, obviously, because none of us could be there. So I think there's a lot of stories, but they're all really similar, actually, if you look at them. Even reading the Tao Te Ching and stuff like that, I think you can see that they're not any of them far off. They're all making up the same story. They're all using kind of the same template, so to speak, which is that.
Do you know why?
Why is that?
Why?
I don't know why now.
We are humans, and we have the same template of our brains. So we think in very similar patterns.
And makes a lot of sense.
And the Bible hijacked half of their stories.
Yeah, exactly. And now some of these ideas might come out differently in different cultures, but they are all based around the same thinking patterns, the same ideas, the same philosophies, that kind of.
It's like vampires.
So may I ask, do you think
vampires are different in different countries? And they're like stories.
Just a curious question. I'm curious about where you guys are. So, do you think religion is kind of an evolutionary type of development then?
Everything evolves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome, our first member, Dr. Tapioca Weasel. Welcome.
Yeah.
Checks in the mail. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, the human mind is capable of dreaming up first ideas all over the globe at the same time. So they're not really first.
Yeah.
Like nobody has an original thought. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate that secular humanism is not the first kind of thought that comes to our minds. Rather, it's this obsession with creating religion that seems to have spread across the world first.
Because primitive man is afraid of everything. Everything's trying to eat him. Everything's trying to kill him. The neighbors are trying to kill him. But you know what? I got this rock, and as long as I pray to this rock, and I put some clay on this rock in a certain way, as long as I do that every time, the monsters stay away. Everything's fine, and then that pattern recognition turns into a religion over time. It evolves into a superstition. Oh, and that was the other thing I was going to say. Secular humanism, there's another good definition, is a philosophy, belief system, or life stance that embraces human reason, secular ethics, and philosophical naturalism, while specifically rejecting religious dogma, supernaturalism, and superstition as the basis of morality and decision-making.
Yeah, I think I'm in that camp then, by that definition. I just didn't know really the like you guys both have said, I'm really new to the leaving. You guys' videos really are the main ones I've watched. And this is the first.
Dan, you're a member of this community now.
Welcome to the
family. I appreciate that, guys. I appreciate that. That's why I was so stoked, because in my town, most of the people I work with are atheists, so they're just so thankful I'm done preaching. So I am friends with them, and
thank you, fucking imaginary spaghetti.
Why aren't they in the chat?
They're going, man, if there is a God, if there is a God, yeah. So now I get to go golfing and to hockey games and stuff. They quit hanging out with me for the last 3 years, so they finally are hanging out with me a little bit again, and
back in the cool kids club.
Well, I annoyed the fuck out of them.
In my direction. You point them in my direction. Also.
I will. Oh, trust me, I have been pointing many people in your direction, because I think a lot of them are they're not convinced. They don't know how. Well, now they probably do, because they dealt with me for 3 years, but they don't see the danger in religion. And I do think it to be a dangerous thing. I do think it to be a dangerous thing.
It can be. It doesn't always manifest
that way,
but it can be.
No, yeah, you're right. It doesn't always, but it can be, which is why I think it's better that it just not exists because then you don't have to worry about it happening to cause fear, or even if it doesn't cause harm, though, it's still believing the wrong thing, I think, in a sense, is harmful. So believing a lie, I think, is never good.
Can be.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's beliefs that are completely harmless, like believing in the fucking Easter Bunny is pretty harmless, but believing in a deity that can heal you if you can't walk, that's another issue.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take this chemo because I've been praying on it.
And I got the blood.
Yeah.
Even in the community that I came from, that was a big thing, like especially with the vaccination, the church. I came from an anti-vax church, anti-max church. And so, yeah.
Go sub to Bree.
Bree, drop your link.
Yeah, seriously, do it. Because Bree does a lot of really cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She's got some great content on.
And now, you're going to get to go out to the hockey games, go golfing.
Woo, hockey.
I know Neil's happy, but now you can come hang out with all of the people going to imaginary. The people going to imaginary hell.
That's what's so cool about watching your channel.
Talking to everybody else and saying, how fucked up was your experience? I was like, mine was this fucked up, and then mine was this fucked up. And we all just kind of say, whew, glad that's over. Let's talk about Star Trek, yeah?
yeah. But I spent the last 3 years, hating people, literally hating homosexuals, hating women, all because my religion essentially told me I had to, or I would go to hell. So, yeah, I don't think hate's ever good, and I think, and like Neil said, I don't want to make it sound like it manifests every time like that in religion, but in my experience, yeah, it manifests in me being scared of hell very, very often, and me hating people because they didn't believe what I believe, and me telling other people, including children, that they would go to hell. And it manifested in me laying hands on people in wheelchairs, making them believe that I might be able to get them out of that chair. So in my case, it was harmful. I think I've summed it.
Is Kitty cleaning you?
Yes, she is licking my head right now. Thank you. I was like, I hope they don't notice that she's licking my head right now. But
you see the shadow right behind you. She's just giving her. So there's a dirty spot. Gotta clean that off.
I don't know why she's choosing to do it now, but she is. Yeah, she's a good cat. She's a cool cat. But if you believe the Christians, I'd be probably a cat killer because I don't have any morals anymore because I'm not a Christian anymore. So I'm
you just get her all stuffed up, ready to eat.
Yeah,
that's what we.
That's the way they sell. That's the way they sell it, though. It's like if you leave, you're not gonna have morals anymore. You can't possibly have morals if you're not.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you know.
I show them wrong every fucking time.
And that's what's so cool. That's what I'm doing too. So my aging grandmother actually lives with me, and I care for her. And rather than have her in a nursing home, so on top of work, I have somebody that sits with her during the day, and then I come home at night. And
wow,
so
what a horrible person you are. Yeah. Fucking goes to work and then takes care of grandma. Get the fuck. Yeah, you're fine.
No.
I feel pretty bag of shit, man. You're pretty all right guy as far as I can tell.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I'm grateful for the opportunity to do. But that's the whole thing is they would still spend that, and I'm still going to hell according to them, and so are you guys. Even though you guys, I think what you guys do is a great thing. Well, mainly because it helped me a ton. I don't think I've said that yet on the show, but man. It has helped me because I didn't have a community for so long. So I'm really grateful for you guys because it's been so helpful to hear other people's stories and just to hear you guys joking around and happy, because another part of it is you get the idea when you're indoctrinated that if you leave, you'll just be miserable all the time and you're not going to have fun or you're not going to laugh or you're not going to have friends or be able to joke around. And so you guys kind of showed the insanity of that to be wrong to me. So you guys are good in my book too. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we're gonna sit over here and just wait for the imaginary hell to show up to come get us.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hey,
we're
that's
gonna
cool.
fucking have a good fucking time over here. That's what we're
That's
gonna
right.
All right. Dan, we have gone past the hour, sir. So I would like
Yes.
to thank you personally. We would like to thank you for coming and sharing your story with us.
I appreciate you guys so much. Yeah. Again, thank you for the show, and thank you for letting me be on, man. It's been cool. Thanks for letting my cat be on too. She's happy.
What's her name?
Oh, we're very
her name's
friendly here.
okay. Her name's actually a Christian name too, Mercy. I got her when I was saved.
Mercy's
I
not
can't change it now. I can't. No, it's not. You're right.
It's not a Christian word. Don't worry about that. Hi, Mercy. Anyway,
Mercy.
we are going to do an after party, Dan, so you can come and hang out with us for a little bit longer if you're okay with that.
Yeah, is that a different link or just stay right here?
I will give you a brand new. Actually, Mikey can put the link in the private chat. Can you access the private chat from the phone? I can't remember.
I think I can. Yeah, it looks like I can.
It's
Okay,
real tricky. You might have to send it to him, Neil. It's real tricky on the phone because they usually end up just hanging up on themselves.
Okay, then I'll send you one via your email as well.
All right, that'll work good. Yeah. All right, sounds good. I'll hop on that then.
Okay,
Give
well,
us one
hold up.
Okay.
Just want to say thanks to everyone out there in the chat. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. And thank you to Dr. Tapioca Weasel for being the first member of the 604 Atheist channel. And
Awesome.
Don't be so surprised because we literally just did it a couple hours ago. So you're the first member after us firing it up tonight. It's the first day I've had this. We've had this go. So yes. So yeah, all your money will be going to him. He designed everything. Anyways, thanks to my wonderful patrons. You guys are awesome. Couldn't do this without you guys. And Dan, brother, good to meet you finally. And,
good to meet you guys.
And to have you on the show, share the story. Let's get into an after party. You can meet more of the community. All right.
All right, sounds awesome, guys. See you there.
And hold on. Until then, guys, like I always say at the end of the interviews, like the late great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.